following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah, go Cowboys!
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com.
We were on the break!
With Nick Eatman, David Hellman, Ambar Garcia, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Wednesday, January 5th, 2022, Season 17, Episode number 91. Welcome to the very latest edition of The Break. We're live from SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. Got the full crew today. We'll be joined by Bucky Brooks here in a moment. He is of NFL Network, and he will talk to us a little bit about the Philadelphia offense versus the Dallas defense. That game coming up this Saturday night at 7:15, I think, is the kick time. But it'll be, you guys will be able to check that out. It's been moved from Sunday. So if you had not noted that, it was moved from a Sunday noon game to a Saturday night game. Go ahead and get it out of the way. Get the Cowboys ready for the playoffs. How's everybody doing today?
Great.
Good. Everybody's good.
Nick, you want to give me a 91?
LP?
Wow, it's that kind of day, huh? Best you got for me.
Darren Benson. You ever heard of him? Darren Benson?
No.
Okay. Yeah, he was doing some roofing work in 1994, and the Cowboys called him and said, "You want to play football? You're a pretty big guy." And they're like, "Yeah, okay." And he played a couple of years. Darren Benson.
Okay. I like his story.
Seem fair to say that kind of day about a guy who was here for like 16 years.
I think he's got
did his
one
job
of the most
great.
unique stories in the history of the Cowboys.
Does he?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The way he got here.
I mean, we've never done it before. We've never, ever, other than one time in 2005, have we stayed over for a week in the 49ers Raiders. And because of that.
When you say stayed over, we were in town for one game. We stayed the entire week in that city for another game that was going to be near there.
And in the first game against the 49ers, this deep snapper had another bad snap, and Parcells was like, "Yeah, you're out. Cut him. You got to get someone else." And since we're out there, can we get someone local? Well, there's a guy over here at Cal Berkeley named LP, and they're like, "Okay, well, get him in here and see if he can do it just for a little bit." And then he did it for 17 years without a bad snap. It's amazing. If we were back to Dallas, like we probably should have been, Parcells just wanted to do that. If we were back to Dallas, then we would have got the pool of 17 snappers and this guy, and cool, and probably LP would have never done it.
Also, like at this point, has trained a decent number of successful long snappers that are in the league right now.
Yeah, we've got a few.
I don't know their names.
He did?
I don't know their names off the top of my head, but there are at least like 3 or 4 long snappers in the league right now who were his understudy in training camp, who went on to be successful just working under him for a summer here.
Well, we had, there's probably 4.
Crater was one of them.
Zach Wood.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't know their names, but there have been a few. Really, really, you can scoff at it all you want, but like the best long snapper in team history and one of the best ever.
No?
LP was the best. LP.
I mean, Hellstray did it for equally as long. He did, 20-something years, right? How long was he here?
Not that long.
How long was he here? You know?
Not off the top of my head, but I know LP is
1990 to 2001. I don't know. 12 years? I guess, something like that.
If LP didn't set the record for years served, he definitely tied it, right?
Yeah, he didn't have the most games.
No.
Witten was like, you guys got to, come on now.
Never heard his voice, ever, not once.
LP?
Yeah, I don't know what he sounds like.
Not a big talker. Not a very friendly guy.
Well, he wouldn't.
He liked cookies.
That's probably what you hear in my voice way more than him as a long snapper.
See, I'm more than willing to acknowledge your contributions on the field, even if you weren't the nicest off of it. That's okay.
I guess. All right, let's go ahead and get into some talk on this team. Let's talk about a couple guys on the injury report. Let's start first with Jaron Kearse. He popped up yesterday on the injury report, was limited. But Mike McCarthy had a couple things to say. What did we hear, Dave, from McCarthy on him?
He's got a hammy. Didn't do well. They walked through yesterday anyway. They're not expecting him to do a lot today, at least not at the outset. Questionable to play, which, hey.
Sit him.
Oh, no. A really good player can't play in this game and needs to take the week off.
Out.
No. I hate that. I don't like getting my guys rest
Look,
heading into the playoffs.
Pollard's
Yeah.
also on the list limited. I'm
Who?
sure you're Pollard, so I'm sure you're probably thinking the same thing there. Like, please,
Strike
just
three. Out.
sit him down.
Guess I'll just have to watch Ito Smith play. It's terrible.
I haven't heard that
Whose
voice
voice
since
is that?
Lindsay
Like,
left.
that's
Like that
my-
was you and Lindsay doing that voice.
Yeah, right. That is
That's
Lindsay.
fair.
I was
That's-
like, I've heard that somewhere before, but that's Lindsay.
It's just my whiny baby voice. I mean, hopefully these guys are all okay, and it becomes a problem if they're not ready for the
I
playoffs.
always
But
thought that was kind of like y'all sort of a Mickey voice.
we have a lot of bits. Lindsay Draper and I have a lot of
I miss
bits.
Lindsay.
Me too. She says hi. I talk to her often. Her kids are great.
Funny thing is, I literally, and I'm getting way off the track here, but
You are.
This was literally 2 or 3 months ago. Me and my wife were out. We never go out. We were out one night at a bar having drinks, and who runs up on us but Lindsay and her husband? And there is like a rooftop bar at a hotel, and they're staying at the hotel. They're in town for the weekend, so we got to hang out with them a little bit. But yeah, I miss her. I really miss her.
Same.
All right, let's find out about Blake Jarwin. Like there's news around him, right?
His practice window has been activated, so he should be out there today. It's fun. So they have 21 days to evaluate him. There's no rhyme or reason to what that means. If you remember, they activated Maurice Kennedy's practice window, gave him like 3 hours to get ready, and then activated him to the roster.
Yeah.
Some guys they take all the way through the 21 days. I think it just depends on how physically fit you are. According to the rules, there's nothing stopping him from being activated and playing against Philly, but that'll probably depend on how he practices. That's a situation where you would love to get him out there and get him on the grass and just get him back in the flow of a football game before the playoffs. But even if that's not doable, it's very encouraging to think. I mean, he'll be available for the playoffs. That's just a guess by me. But if you're practicing this week, that gives you next week. I think he'll be available for the playoffs.
Well, I'm interested to see how they will do that. How they'll use him. If he is active, say for the playoff game, because they like McEwen. Sprinkle gets some decent amount of snaps for blocking tight end. But they also can have all these other guys, jumbo packages and stuff like that. So I don't know if you would need the 4 tight ends. But yeah, I definitely think you use him if he's out there. And I agree with Dave. If he's ready to play, I'd play him for this game. Just get him some snaps, get him back in the flow, because when the playoff game hits, it'll be.
That's what I was gonna say. I'm like, if he's ready by then, by the playoff game for sure. At that point, how much work do you actually give him to where he is gonna be productive for you with being on the field? He's been out for what is it now?
He's been out since Halloween.
Long time. So it makes me wonder, like, how much time does he really need as like playing time to kind of get back into things and actually be productive?
Yeah, I think. Go ahead.
I don't like the setup at tight end. I don't like these 2 tight ends as your tight ends because they don't block. That's the problem. You don't think that's a big deal?
No, I mean, yes, but
like,
I mean,
they're both pass catchers, but they don't do what you want them to do to like 2 tight end set. Could they run? Could they pass? They're probably going to pass because they don't get an advantage by having 2 tight ends that just maul you and run. These aren't the 2 tight end sets that create this mismatch problems because they are problems sometimes in the running game.
But I will say this: I think there have been games this year where Dalton Schultz has been a pretty good blocker. I know there have been plays where I've seen him make some really good blocks, and that doesn't mean he's a consistent blocker. That doesn't mean he reminds me of what Jason Witten was for a lot of his career. Like, I think early in his career, he got the reputation of being a really great blocker, and I think he was earlier. I think as he got into his career, he was a willing blocker,
in the way.
which means he knew how to get in the way, he knew how to position his body, and in doing so, he could create the right kinds of opportunities, the right kind of lanes for running game. I think Dalton Schultz has become that kind of blocker. He's not horrible at it
I'm fine
by
with
any
that.
means.
And I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Just don't need 2 of them.
See, I disagree, and it's not. They're not. Yeah, we need that, right? We do.
Every once in a while, at least.
They're not great blockers, and you can go pull up the tape of both of them failing especially in space, going all the way. What?
No, go ahead.
You just I feel like you're going to interject, even though I'm about to agree with you.
Okay, I wanted to hear you out. So go.
They're not great blockers. They're not good in space. They're not good one-on-one. But what they do, and especially they work in tandem. Like when they run 12 personnel with these guys, they're almost always next to each other. And together, they can be useful in that regard. They can seal off the backside. They can keep a guy from coming around the edge, and that opens up the back to get where he needs to get without somebody chasing him down. They can do that type of stuff. And they're both really athletic. So if the Cowboys go 12 personnel with Blake, Dalton, Cooper, and CD, and you load the box because it's 12 personnel and you think they're going to run, well, you're screwed now because you got two really athletic tight ends who can get out in space on top of your receiver personnel. And if you drop back because you're worried about what they can do in the passing game, they're good enough to be plus blockers together. Like they're not Marty B. They're not just going to mash the front side D end on their own and hold the edge so you can get around them. But together, they can do just enough to make the running game viable while making you respect the passing game.
Yep. I agree with that.
I know. That's why I got frustrated because I was like, you're going to try to make my point for me.
No. I agree with that. And I will say this, too. I will say when it comes to 12 personnel, I think that's what he can add to this because what we were talking about back when they were coming into the season was where are you going to go, 12 or are you going to go 11? When you had Michael Gallup and you had those three wide receivers, it was kind of that, well, which gives you an advantage? Well, now without Gallup, I actually think that you might have a little bit more of an advantage having those two tight ends with two wide receivers because you can do some different things with Jarwin up the middle of the field, which I don't think they've exploited quite enough this year. I think they use CD in that role some, but I think they can do more with that.
And it's funny because I think Blake has 10 catches on the year. Like I don't think he even has 100 receiving yards on the year. Yeah. Like I definitely don't want to blow this out of proportion. Like this is
2 touchdowns though.
He does, yeah, but. I just think his 10 catches for 90 and 2 touchdowns. We're not talking about bringing Kelsey into the lineup, right. But his skill set, I don't think it's a coincidence that when they lost that personnel grouping, that was when they were at their best. Mm-hmm. It was when they love 12 personnel. Kellen Moore loves it. They've been using it like a quarter of the time, even with all the receivers that they have. And I just don't think it's been the same since Blake left. And so I don't know if this is a magic pill, but I'm optimistic that this could be really beneficial for them.
Okay. My point really, they'll be fine in these couple games. I don't think it's going to be the make or break in the playoffs or whatever. But you do have some decisions to make coming up next year. You've already paid Blake. Dalton Schultz is getting close to 80 catches for a season. He might be gone. I mean, and he probably will be. But, I don't think you signed both of them. I don't think you have both of those contracts here. But, if you had to pick one of the two, wouldn't it be Schultz?
Well, and I think that's a conversation we definitely will have because
off-season?
I think, that's an off-season conversation. Okay. Because, and the reason why I say that is because I do think you have a very tough decision there to make because it's not so much that of the preference of one or the other. It's about how much Dalton's going to cost you. That may be a very relatively expensive. It might be a contract more expensive than you thought you would have coming into this season, just based upon his production this year. All right, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, we got Bucky on the line. We'll talk to him about the Philadelphia offense versus the Dallas defense. We'll do that when we come right back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
At AT&T, everyone, new and existing customers, get our best deals on every smartphone. Why? Because you deserve it. For turning your living room into your office and your gym. For teaching Grandma how to video call and teaching her again.
It's the button on your left, Nana. Okay, your other left.
It's not complicated. Everyone deserves something new. So AT&T is giving everyone, new and existing customers, our best deals with every unlimited plan on every smartphone, even the latest ones.
AT&T may temporarily slow data speeds if the network is busy. Restrictions and exceptions may apply.
Hi, I'm Clint Tillison with...
And I'm Jay Novacek, and we're both with...
United Ag and Turf, the official tractor provider of the Dallas Cowboys.
So, if you need a tractor to bale some hay, a mower to cut some grass, or a gator to get some chores done...
Get a John Deere at United Ag and Turf.
And then, let's get to work.
Hey, Jay, that's my line.
Well, not today.
Get to work with a John Deere tractor package that's just right for you and your budget. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com.
Before there was a draft, you could size up a cowboy by 3 simple factors: the crease in his hat, the bend of his brim, and his unbending attitude. A man Stetson didn't just protect him from what life threw at him, it projected a rugged, unstoppable spirit. Stetson hats are still American-made with pride right here in Texas. They're still the unofficial crown of all self-respecting cowboys, and Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find a retailer nearest you at Stetson.com/cowboys.
New Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. You deserve it.
I do deserve that.
You deserve decadent flavor without sugar and a day at the beach without sand getting everywhere. and a relaxing bath that your children don't interrupt.
I deserve all that?
It's really just a visual metaphor for Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. Everything you want, nothing you don't.
A visual metaphor on the radio. I do deserve that.
Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. The zero you deserve is finally here.
Back to the break.
WrestleMania comes to AT&T Stadium April 2nd, April 3rd, two-day event in 2022. Get your tickets to the most stupendous two-night WrestleMania in the history. Visit SeatGeek.com.
Welcome back. Second segment of the break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. We are joined right now by Bucky Brooks of NFL Network. Bucky, you were listening in on that last conversation that we had about Blake Jarwin and his return and what he might bring to this team once he returns. Tell me what your thoughts are on that.
Look, I mean, I think it may be a blessing in disguise for the Cowboys if that's the move, because what it may do, it may force Kellen Moore and Mike McCarthy to balance up the offense a little bit, not just in terms of run pass, but in terms of formation diversity. Kellen Moore was the guy that played at Boise State. Chris Peterson was the head coach there. They utilize a lot of motions and shifts to kind of change up the look. And what it does, and here's the advantage of 12 personnel, it adds extra gap for the running game. And so regardless of whether the guy can block or not, from a defensive perspective, you have to account for the extra gaps when you have an extra body at the end of the line, whether it's tight ends on either side or tight ends in a wing formation. And so what it does is it makes the defense have to adjust. It also creates some opportunities maybe where you can create one-on-one coverage for Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. And so it may not be all bad that they have to use a little more 12 personnel, because it could help them not only in the running game but in the passing game.
So just so I'm clear on kind of what you're saying is with Jarwin out there as opposed to a Connor McGovern, they might lose a little bit in the space blocking, but the versatility of Jarwin could do more things is probably more beneficial. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, because now as a defensive coordinator, you got to make a decision. Okay, how do we want to treat their tight ends? Do you want to treat them as a wide receiver? Do you want to treat them as tight ends? Do you want to put base personnel or nickel personnel on the field? And depending upon how you kind of do the alignments, do you put both tight ends on one side and then CeeDee Lamb and Cooper on the other side? Do you put them where the wide receivers are wide and the tight ends are inside? There are a bunch of different things that you can do to create one-on-one matchups. Now, I don't know if Kellen Moore wants to get into his bag like that versus Philadelphia, but it has to be something that's a thought, because when you get into the postseason, you got to have something that you may not have shown, a wrinkle, a trick, a gimmick, something to just throw opponents off. And so it may give them an opportunity to be a little more diverse in some of their formations and alignments, and maybe even some of the play calling that they use.
Buck, going back to the Eagles, I'm all I keep hearing about is how well the Eagles have run the ball since they kind of got their act together. And it was week 3. It feels like a lifetime ago since then. So just when people say that, I mean, what exactly are they doing? And I know they got guys on the COVID list. For the purposes of this, let's just pretend like they don't. What are they doing that's making them so successful running the ball?
They become the NFL's version of Oklahoma. Basically, they're lining up and running Jalen Hurts' offense from Oklahoma. He is that quarterback. He's the centerpiece of the offense. He's not Lamar Jackson, but they use him like Lamar Jackson, meaning he's the center, the focus of the running game. And so when the quarterback runs and you got GT pull, guard and tackle pull, counters, read game, it changes how you have to play on defense. And because so few teams utilize the quarterback like that, it's like playing Army or Navy in a week. And so when they went to that move, the offense exploded. They were rushing for 175 per game over like a 5 or 6 game stretch. And the crazy thing, they weren't even using Miles Sanders at that point. Then they started incorporating the running backs and all that other stuff. It gave them an identity and some confidence. And so the problems that you've seen teams have with Baltimore and San Francisco, when they begin to utilize all the funky stuff from shotgun with jet sweeps and fly sweeps and quarterback runs, yeah, it's problematic. And now they have so much confidence in it that they feel like they can beat you up. And it's made them a more physical and a tougher team, which has also helped their defense.
Bucky, what are your thoughts on playing the starters? If this is a game where the Cowboys kind of start out slow and it goes into the second half where you're still kind of trailing behind, do you keep the starters in? Do you pull them out? What do you do?
Well, it's a trick. Like, if you had told me that last week that the Cowboys played well against the Cardinals and everything was buttoned up, I was like, hey, give them a week off and be fresh and ready to go in the playoffs. Because they didn't play as well, I think they have to play a little more. Now, you don't want to risk injury because the only thing that you're playing for maybe is seeding, but it seems like you're already locked in to Arizona. So you kind of want to treat this like one of those final preseason games. You want to give them enough work to feel good about going into the postseason, but you don't want to expose them too much. So you want everyone available and ready to play in the postseason.
All right, so I'm looking at this team, and I'm looking at what they have done so far this year, Philadelphia I'm talking about, and I noticed the fact that they have not beaten a single team that's over 500. Their best wins came against New Orleans, who's 8-8, Denver, who's 7-9, and Atlanta, who's 7-9. Is their record recently and their production and them getting in the playoffs, is all that a reflection of the opponents that they've played, or do you think that team is good enough to actually make some noise in the playoffs?
Look, man, look, you are what your record says you are. Isn't that what Bill Parcells said?
Yeah.
They haven't beaten any major teams, but all they can do is beat the teams that are on their schedule. I would just say that their style of play is tricky. And if you're not ready for quarterback run game, you're not ready for some of the read option stuff and power read stuff that they do, yeah, it can get ugly at times. Are they the best team? No. But a team playing with a bunch of confidence that somehow found their way into the postseason tournament when no one expected them to be there, they're a dangerous team. And for them, man, they would love nothing better than to knock off Dallas. So they're going to be ready to play regardless of who's playing and how long they play. And so it's one of those games where you got to get ready, got to buckle up. If they're going to play, it's a rivalry game.
Bucky, do you vote for Players of the Year? Do you get that vote for like AP Defensive Player of the Year and stuff?
Nah, I just get to do the Twitter stuff. That's it.
It's good. Since you don't have to, since you're not revealing your vote, who would be your comeback player of the year in the NFL?
Oof. Man, that's comeback player of the year. I mean, it's loaded because normally you would think Dak, but I think Dak's fade kind of made it hard.
Cincinnati?
I mean, Joe Burrow. You can't count Joe Burrow as a comeback player, can you? Like,
sure you can.
He got hurt, but like, how many games did he miss?
He tore like all the ligaments in his knee.
I mean, if he's eligible for it, then I would give Dave a bone and go with the eligible. I mean, just because there's something to seeing him coach look like he does in the locker room. You see him with Jamar Chase and Tyler Boyd. He cigars up. You see him with Zach Taylor and everybody else. He's super corporate. I give him credit because he's one of the best that I've seen from a leadership perspective of being able to bring everybody in. So, yeah, if he's eligible, he definitely should be not only comeback player of the year, I think you got to talk about him in that MVP conversation.
Okay. I don't hate that. I mean, because and I'll say this, I was in Cincinnati last year when the Cowboys were a bad football team and dominated that train wreck of a team with Brandon Allen and those guys. They were bad. And to think that 365 days later that here they are winning a tough division. I mean, that's a tough, gritty division. And to win it with him, yeah, he's pretty valuable. So,
yeah, I think the difference is a couple of things that I learned from watching Cincinnati kind of bounce back. One, quarterback is everything. And quarterback has to go beyond what they look like, how they throw it, or whatever. It's more feel and intangibles and that stuff. Are there culture changes in the locker room? Secondly, they did a good job on defense, and no one talks about their defense. If you want to be a team that is blue-collar and you pride yourself in being like a try-hard, work-hard team, you have to get guys that embody that. Trey Hendrickson, Sam Hubbard. I mean, even Cheeto, when he was playing, he was doing a good job. Everybody on their defense fits the brand, and I think that is the big thing that you have to do when you rebuild your team.
Buck, I'm interested in one of the last things you said about the Eagles. It's possible they play Dallas in the playoffs, but not super likely. If I had to guess, it's looking like they're going to play the Rams or maybe the Buccaneers. Is there a team that you think the Eagles match up really well with in the sense that, you know, they might be the 7th seed, but they could give somebody fits?
I think if you're them, you're okay playing the Rams because the Rams' biggest issue has been when people have socked them in the mouth. physical football teams have given them problems. We saw them struggle last week against Baltimore with the backup quarterback in Tyler Huntley and a team that has been ravaged by injuries. So if you're the Philadelphia Eagles, you're okay lining up and having to play Matthew Stafford and that guy. Because even though the Rams are loaded with star power and they may be the best team that emerges in the NFC, I think you take your chances on being able to deal with a team that is more finesse than power.
Other than winning this game and having no injuries, what are you looking for in this game?
Cowboys got to get back on track. Like, I don't like some of the things that came out of the last game. I don't like all the whining and crying about officiating and that stuff, because to me, it made me pause a little bit because it screams of immaturity. And I just need to see them play well, because despite the bad calls, a lot of the issues that the Cowboys had were self-inflicted. And when you have turnovers, you have a bunch of penalties, you have errors in the kicking game, and you give up big plays over the top of the defense, you're going to lose games. And so that part of it needs to be cleaned up, because for the majority of the season, the Cowboys have been great at those areas. And so I don't like trends happening, so I want to see that erased so they play well against Philadelphia in a clean football game, and then you feel better about what the chances are in the postseason.
All right, Buck, we appreciate you, man. We'll have you back tomorrow. We'll talk about this Philadelphia defense versus the Cowboys offense. We're going to take our final break, come back. I have some questions for these guys about the Dallas defense, particularly the run defense. We'll talk about that when we come back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now, you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
At AT&T, everyone, new and existing customers, get our best deals on every smartphone. Why? Because you deserve it. For turning your living room into your office and your gym. For teaching Grandma how to video call and teaching her again.
It's the button on your left, Nana. Okay, your other left.
It's not complicated. Everyone deserves something new. So AT&T is giving everyone, new and existing customers, our best deals with every unlimited plan on every smartphone, even the latest ones.
AT&T may temporarily slow data speeds if the network is busy. Restrictions and exceptions may apply.
Hi, I'm Clint Tillison with...
And I'm Jay Novacek, and we're both with...
United Ag and Turf, the official tractor provider of the Dallas Cowboys.
So, if you need a tractor to bale some hay, a mower to cut some grass, or a gator to get some chores done...
Get a John Deere at United Ag and Turf.
And then, let's get to work.
Hey, Jay, that's my line.
Well, not today.
Get to work with a John Deere tractor package that's just right for you and your budget. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com.
Before there was a draft, you could size up a cowboy by 3 simple factors: the crease in his hat, the bend of his brim, and his unbending attitude. A man's Stetson didn't just protect him from what life threw at him, it projected a rugged, unstoppable spirit. Stetson hats are still American-made with pride right here in Texas. They're still the unofficial crown of all self-respecting cowboys, and Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find a retailer nearest you at Stetson.com/Cowboys.
Back to the break.
Download the official app of the Dallas Cowboys to get access to in-market game broadcast, mobile tickets, daily podcasts like this one, live pregame and postgame shows, game updates, and more. Download in the app or Google Play stores.
Welcome back. Final segment of the break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. We're talking Philadelphia offense and Dallas defense. I did have a question for you guys about this defense and how they match up against Philadelphia. Right now, Dallas is 24th in the NFL. They're ranked 24th in rushing yards per attempt at giving up 4.5 yards per attempt. Do you see the rush defense as a problem for Dallas? Because there have been some games where it's been kind of like shaky, but I don't know if they've been killed by it. Do you see it as a weakness?
They've been killed by it one time, and it was Denver, in my opinion. And everybody on the team admits that they forgot to show up for that game. So, no. Yeah, I mean, they're not great, but I've never felt like it was just this issue that's going to kill them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not like last year. Last year, that was a big problem.
Definitely not like last year.
Last year was the worst I've ever seen. I've seen high schools that play the run better than last year's defense.
Yeah, it was bad. But to my point, it's like when they're doing so much else for you, and you're not walking out of a game, and we get on this show talking, man, that run defense, they just absolutely suck. Well, they're not great or the best at it, but they're giving you so much more to the point where you're not necessarily complaining about it that much. So it could come back and bite you in the butt in the playoffs if they're unable to perform in other areas on the field. So as of right now, I don't think it's a huge. I would rather take what they're doing right now.
It's the same as almost every other facet of the Cowboys game. You know, it really is. I mean, look at the run defense. It's like no, they're not world beaters. They don't get gashed every time either. I mean, I think it's the same as the secondary. I think it's the same as the passing game. I think it's the same as the kicker. You know, I mean, you can say all you want to about the kicker missing kicks. He's hit some big kicks too, and so
is that the biggest problem for this team though?
Well,
there's so many things that it's like, they're not bad. They're not great, but they're not bad.
But like everybody just is this going to be a problem? Is this going to be a problem? And it might be. I mean, think about the Colts back in I think it was like 2005. Mm-hmm. Vanderjagt was their kicker. I don't think he missed a kick all year. He didn't miss a kick until the championship game, and he missed, and they didn't go to the Super Bowl. So it can go the other way. I mean, you just got to go play the damn game. Like, that's it. You just got to play the game. And so they've got some issues. Like, they're just kind of in the middle.
I also think, I mean, this team's potential is unlocked when they're playing up to their offensive ability. That's when they've been their best. And I think a big part of their run defense not being a liability is they take that away from you. The Saints also ran all over them until they were put in a position where they couldn't do that anymore. Right. And then what happened? They started throwing picks because Taysom Hill's awful. And I think that's a big part of their game plan. So, and it's not totally fair because Kyler Murray is unique. I mean, there's only so much you can do to contain a guy like that. But the Cardinals got the ball back with how many minutes to play the other day, and they ran the clock out. Yeah. And so, like I said, it's not a totally fair comparison because of who Kyler is. But if you wind up in that situation, like let's just say they're in Lambeau, do I completely trust that they can stop A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones from pounding on them until the clock runs out? Not really. But
they're going to have like good 4 days to prepare for that. Or so.
Why 4?
Or 5. I mean, whatever.
No, I know, but I guess my point is, and of course, the deeper you get in the playoffs, the better the teams you're going to play, and you're not going to be able to build these second half leads. But just like everything else, it's on the offense to take some of that strain off the defense, in my opinion. I mean, we've all been very clear. This defense is fantastic. They are such a huge success story, but they're not at their best if the offense isn't putting them in a better position.
One thing to note that I think we all should remember is that first game Cowboys played against Philly, and the argument can be made that Philly's a very different team now. 8 of the first 9 offensive plays run by Philadelphia were passes. They came out with the intent that they were going to throw. Now they did throw an interception in those plays, but they went into that game, whether it was strategic, whether it was before they found their identity as this running team, they came in that game with the intention that they were going to try to throw the ball. We'll see if that's going to be their intention this week, but I would suspect it's not.
On a 20-degree night outside in Philly, I don't think so.
And by the way, their identity has somewhat changed. I don't know that they had this identity of this running team back then, but we will see, and we'll see if they're strategic. They go into this game strategically thinking we got to put up points, and that forces them out of what they want to do.
Maybe I'm just a hater, and we won't really know probably because the Eagles are going to have guys missing because of COVID. I still think the Cowboys are probably going to do what Bucky said and kind of be smart about snap counts. But
Vegas,
I don't even know the spread.
It's like 7.5.
Dallas?
Yeah, that's weird to me, but
I don't think Philly's a different team. I'm sorry.
Same thing.
I think they've benefited from playing a lot of the league's trash. That's my opinion.
The Cowboys have only blown out one playoff team, and that's Philly. And I know the Philly's different than they were, but I mean maybe not that much different. Mm-hmm. But the other two, Patriots and the Chargers are not in, but I think that they're going to get in. They took walk-off touchdowns and then the other playoff teams they didn't beat. So
who would you say out of the two teams, Cowboys and Eagles, is playing for the most in this game? That would go in that game.
The Cowboys.
The Cowboys.
Close. A good question, but the Cowboys a little bit because their percentage. I mean, their chances of moving to 3 and even a 2. Philly doesn't. I mean, Philly doesn't have a lot of chances.
I mean, and even here's the thing: even if they move from 7 to 6, it doesn't change anything. They're not getting a home game. All it's going to change is who they're going to face, right? And unless that 7 team wins, then they're not going to get a home game.
They can have the Rams, because I'm telling you, like, I like the Cowboys' chances of beating any other team in the NFC more than the Rams. And seriously, I don't like.
You think the Rams are the toughest matchup for the Cowboys?
Without a doubt, I believe that.
More so than Green Bay?
Yeah. I hate to say that. Wow. I do. And I mean, I just don't think they would beat the Rams. The Rams, to me, have elite. I know they have issues. I mean, they lose. But
I'll take my chances. Stafford's dying to give the ball away.
I know.
Yeah, he's dying to throw picks.
But when he's not, he's throwing touchdowns to Cooper Kupp.
I know. I just think, they have 3 of the very best players at their position in the NFL, and I think that is, and maybe even 4. I mean, when Von Miller's playing and really on his game,
he's definitely up there in the exceptional level.
You got Donald, you got the corner, Ramsey. I mean, you got Cooper Kupp. It's just a nightmare to stop. And there's the way that McVay. I mean, they're
getting a lot out of Beckham right now too. He's in that Von Miller category of when he's at his best, he can be right up there with the best.
And he
in the league.
seems to do it when the Cowboys are on the other side.
Yeah.
So
to go back to your question, I think you also have to remember the Eagles are just happy to be here. Like they're, I'm not. That's not to throw shade. I'm dead serious. They should be thrilled.
Yeah.
They're in the first year of a new regime. They're kind of in a rebuild. They're all year long, like they're focused on what they're going to get out of the Carson Wentz trade and the Dolphins trade. Like, okay, we're going to have all these picks next year.
Yeah,
they
can rebuild that thing.
Who do they have? Who do they have cap space committed to right now?
Yeah, they got money.
They're
Lane
looking
Johnson?
forward like we feel good about where we're going.
If you're an Eagles fan, you're like, man, we made the playoffs with this. Yeah. This is great. And meanwhile, the Cowboys, you got big money everywhere. You started 6-1. Like, if they don't get to the conference championship game, it'll be a disappointing season. Philly's not thinking like that. So, the Cowboys have way more to gain and way more to lose.
Is Philly going to have 3 picks?
Yeah.
3 first rounders?
Yeah, because Wentz had to play 75% of the snaps. As long as he plays this game on Sunday, he'll hit that.
So it's not about them making the playoffs; it's about his snaps.
Yeah.
Oh well, then yeah.
But they won't be. It won't be a great pick because the Colts will probably be in the playoffs. But so they'll pick. Philly will own theirs, Indy's, and Miami's first round picks.
So they're going to be.
Miami's going to be what
15,
about mid?
Yeah, something like that.
So you got 3 picks that'll be like in that 15 to 20 something range,
and
which you can.
It's not bad. You can use that to move if you want to.
You could move. Hurts has played well enough that maybe you don't have to worry about. Not saying
a great quarterback draft. I don't think.
No,
the
it's
people
not.
I've been reading.
I'm not saying he's your quarterback of the future, but he's been good enough that you're like, well, let's address the line or let's do this.
Yeah. There's a lot about that makes me a little worried about what Philly can become over the next few years. No doubt about that. All right, we're going to. We appreciate you guys joining us. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll talk about Cowboys offense versus this Philadelphia defense. Till then, for Nick Eatman, Dave Hellman, and Amber Garcia, I am Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break, live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!